rural livelihood around Lusaka. Lusaka, the capital of Zambia, has about 1 million people. At least a fourth of them live in shanty towns around the city, which start abruptly in several places. Life for the migrants is a constant struggle for survival, with many attempting to cultivate several plots wherever possible. The illustration shows small patches of corn surrounded by tall grass just outside the city limits. Ownership of the land is never certain. The government claims exclusive rights over the extensive metropolitan area, so the migrants are simply squatters. Hoeing down a termite hill is preferred, as that soil has a remarkable fertility, but it is hard work, and anyways there are only a limited number of hills. Whatever is raised, the yield is never certain due to theft, damage by rodents, and so on. A preferred crop is cassava, which does fairly well even under rather marginal conditions, but it provides mainly starches and little else. As expected, practically all the gardening is done by the women, while the men are away doing who knows what. Occasional heavy rains may create the illusion of irrigation, but such is not the case. The water is simply runoff from adjacent areas, an occasional supply. Overall, the crop yields considerably less than their actual potential, but even a little is better than nothing. Under prompting by missionaries, limited areas, generally an acre or so in size, have been set aside and developed as market gardens. As usual, the women do the work, but the results may not come up to expectations. Several attempts are then abandoned. As shown here, the bananas planted were burned down by fire, set by a careless person. Fencing the garden using local materials is a burdensome task. The poles have to be cut and hauled by human power to the site. In any case, the termites will eat the wood within a year or two, so the effort is hardly worth, as it cannot secure the crop against theft. Wire fencing is too expensive and could be cut and stolen in no time. Well-kept gardens require extensive work for hoeing and weeding, the sole woman here trying to do her best. Due to frequent childbearing or whatever reasons, the cultivation would be rather haphazard, with limited benefits and the end. At the edge of the gardens, I am surveying a small patch of tobacco cultivated by some person. The result will be practically nil, and judging from the few stalks, someone may have already stolen several plants wanting a smoke. Another haphazard plot is shown here, where corn and pumpkin were planted in an ill-defined plot, with perhaps even some cassava in the low ridges among abundant weeds. There was no person around to ask any questions. The viewer may deduct his own conclusions. Close to Lusaka, the agricultural department of the government has made an attempt to demonstrate improved farming techniques, in hope to attract the migrants back to the land. The grossly undersized animals, the primitive yoke, and the use of chain only illustrate the futility to prepare a properly plowed land. Taking the crop to the storage hut or perhaps to the market requires a cart. The one shown here is a misguided effort. It will last only for a season and cannot be used during the rainy season. It is interesting to guess why there were no wooden wheels or perhaps even rubber tires with some axle provided for easier hauling. Wooden wheels were used already by 2000 BC in Mesopotamia, but that is very far away, and apparently no government official was interested in providing proper assistance and advice. With tourists arriving first and foremost to the capital city, craftsmen have set up some gaudily decorated shops to attract the visitor buyers. The items displayed are definitely of poor quality, but the foreigner, always in a hurry, will purchase an item or two to keep the business going. A close-up shows the person at work. Men do all the carving using very simple tools and even some items like sandpaper. The statues sold are passed on as traditional craft by the natives of tropical Africa. In reality, they are botched up items of no particular value to the expert. Traditional classical carvings and similar items are still available at a few locations, but true craftsmen are few, and the skill is not taken up by the young men who are interested only to go and stay in the cities. That trend is general over most of the Third World and will not change in the future.